Hello, my legalists and hexagons. It's another awesome day of pioneering and learning in the crypto space. Today, we're going to be learning about a term that you'll see we're going to come across probably quite often when looking at legal documents that cover the regulation of the crypto space. So I thought it would be a good idea as legalists that we can understand both sides of the framework. So the legal side and also the more technical side. So today we're going to be covering the technical aspects very briefly of DLT, which is distributed ledger technology. And like I say, this is a term that we're going to be coming across quite frequently. So let's see what it's all about and if we can understand it better. Distributed ledger technology. First of all, the word ledger tells us that there is a record keeping of information here. In this context, it is the record of transactions or similar data. When we deal with the distributed ledger, there's normally two types of data that we can distinguish between. That is static data, and then there is dynamic data. So your static data, as the word implies, is data that doesn't change or it's very slow changing. Dynamic data is data that changes. So a perfect example of that would be financial data. That would be updating constantly. Okay, so those are the two types of data that the ledger in a distributed ledger can cover. Okay. Then distributed, or the word distributed, tells us that it is spread out. So we have the record of data in multiple places at the same time. And this happens over a computer network or spread over multiple entities or locations. So when we think of crypto, that should already start ringing an alarm bell. We should already start thinking, oh yes, that's what we mean when we talk about node validators. So those node validators are part of the distributed ledger in recording the data in a decentralized manner in multiple places at the same time. Now, what is so novel about this technology? First of all, it uses cryptography. So immediately, now we know why it's so intricately connected with crypto. So cryptography is used, why? To secure data securely as possible. Now, when we in this space, a lot of people will relate to DLTs from crypto and from a financial perspective, but as you'll see, it doesn't in fact only apply to crypto. So irrespective of what it's being applied to or what information it's being used for, cryptography is an element of DLT. Okay, another thing that's novel and unique about this technology is that it's immutable. So, surprise, that's another word that we're very familiar with in this crypto space. And that is, for example, the immutable code. Well, the database of the distributed ledger is immutable, so it can never be deleted. And like in the case of Bitcoin, it's open for the entire public to see, so it's also fully transparent. Transparency, however, is optional, so not all DLTs or forms of DLTs will use transparency, But that's actually one of the benefits of this technology, is that it can be completely transparent. Okay. Then the third really novel and incredible thing about this technology is that it removes the middleman. So if we think about ledgers, they've existed for a very long time, way before Bitcoin, we could even go back to when paper started, right? Which is even before the internet. However, it was always a form of centralized administration and centralized data storing, okay? Or a single entity that was in control of that data. What the distributed ledger does is that, as we've said, because it's spread over multiple entities, or in the case of crypto, over nodes, okay, the record keeping is removed from a single entity or a single authoritative location to a decentralized system, okay? So those are the three great things about this technology that we've mainly come to know through crypto and especially through Bitcoin. And of course, we know that Hex is based on the idea behind Bitcoin. So I wanted to just go into a little bit more detail about that third aspect, about the decentralization, and why that is such a positive aspect of this technology. So first of all, if you think about a single entity or organization having to control and input information, as we can appreciate, that is quite, number one, time and labor intensive, which means your information is not going to be up to date. And it also means that that information can be manipulated, or even there could be mistakes, simple human error. On the other hand, with this technology and with it being decentralized, it's real time. So it's not dependent on human labor or a single entity. It's completely up to date then. It also means that without that aspect of the time consumption and being very labor intensive, transactions can be sped up, okay? And as a result, they can also be cheaper, okay? So the main core principles behind DLT is that it's decentralized, it's records data using cryptography, okay? That data or that information is immutable, okay? And generally speaking, although, as I said, it's not a prerequisite, it is public. And that public aspect, especially in the field of finance, also creates transparency, okay? And when there's complete transparency, there is trust, okay? And that also reduces then, once there is trust, there is the element of fraud is reduced, and that also removes the need for a middleman. So what and where can we see DLT applied? Well, the first obvious answer is blockchain. So blockchain is a form of DLT, and Bitcoin was the first to demonstrate that technology. But we can also see DLT in other aspects of life. So it's being used by healthcare providers to more efficiently record customer information. In the legal profession, I know that it's being looked into in terms of executing legal documents. And of course, it can also have a role to play in intellectual property rights. So that is just a brief overview of DLT and the principles and the definition behind it. In another video, I'll be discussing blockchain as a form of DLT and the similarities and the differences between the two. But hopefully now, when we look at legal documents going forward, we can at least have a good understanding or a good foundational understanding of what DLT is, and the technology and the elements behind it. I hope you guys enjoyed this brief but informative video, and I'll see you soon. Bye!